Hey, playa, if you're someone that kinda sucks at texting in the sense that your conversations tend to run dry or you run out of things to talk about, don't worry. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 major texting mistakes that you're probably making and how to stop doing them.
This is the Just Beats, you're watching the Just Beat.
For those of you that are new here, my name is Josh, and every single week I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. So if you want to learn and grow, hit the subscribe button and make sure to click on the notification bell. Now, one of the biggest texting mistakes I see people make is that they're a little too passive when they're trying to get closer to the person that they're talking to. Instead of just kind of asking more questions, getting more involved, they kind of wait for that person to lead the conversation with them. Sometimes you might think all I have to do is send them that initial text message and the conversation will just start rolling. They'll start answering me, they'll start talking, they'll be super engaged, but that's not really how conversations work. Just because you sent that initial text message that said, hey, what's up, how you doing, doesn't mean that they're in a place where they actually want to lead the conversation and share information with you and start talking to you about the thing that you basically asked them in the most basic of ways. Think about it like this. If someone walks up to you and says, hey, what's up? What are you up to? Now the burden is on you to actually give them an answer that's meaningful, that's fun, that's interesting. If you say something back like, nothing much, or I'm just kind of hanging out, the conversation falls flat. So when you're asking those basic questions to someone and just kind of trying to get the conversation rolling, you're setting up a scenario where they have to think and be creative on their feet. And a lot of people kind of fall in that spot because they don't have something really interesting to talk about. So what you really want to do instead is ask more detailed questions. This could be about what their hobbies are, what their interests are, what they thought about the test that you just had in school, what their plans are for the weekend, anything that's actually going to get a real answer from them. Now look, there's no guarantee that they're actually going to just start sharing things with you, but by asking a more detailed question that's not a yes or no question, you have a higher likelihood of actually getting a response from them. Plus, if this is a person that you are actively trying to pursue, it's important for you to be the one leading here. That's going to demonstrate confidence to them. It's going to let them see that you actively want to pursue them, you actively want to get to know them better. If you're just kind of waiting for the right opportunity or waiting for them to actually take the lead, they're not really going to find that attractive. They're not really going to even know that you like them. So you want to make it more apparent through your actions by leading those interactions. The second major texting mistake that a lot of people tend to make is that they get a little bit too needy whenever they're talking to their crush. Maybe their crush responds to their first or second message and they feel like, yeah, there's a conversation going here. But once the conversation falls flat and they stop responding, you start to beg them for an answer. You start to get annoyed, you start to get curious, you start to worry, why aren't they responding to me? And here is where people tend to have different types of responses. For some people, they start to freak out a little bit and say things like, hey, why are you ignoring me? Why don't you care about me? Why are you being mean to me? They start to assume intention for that person. And other times, people see that they've been ghosted and they just immediately internalize that hurt. They start to feel like, wow, I'm not good enough, they don't care about me, maybe I said something stupid. They start to really just beat themselves down, feeling like, yeah, because that person didn't respond, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad texter, I'm not worth getting to know. So how exactly do you address that scenario? Do you just ignore it, move on, never talk to them again? Or do you harass them to the end of days until you actually get a response? Well, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Instead of sending them a passive-aggressive text message which says something like, hey, why are you ignoring me? Which implies that you know exactly what they were doing. They were choosing to ignore you. Respond with something that's a little bit more observational. You might want to say something like, hey, look who's back online, or hey, look who's back here texting. That way you are acknowledging that there was a brief gap of time where the two of you weren't talking, but you're not really putting too much emphasis on it. And the whole point of saying that really isn't to kind of put them on the spot so that they give you an explanation or that they apologize, but instead to just kind of get the ball rolling again, to show them that, hey, I'm not worrying too much about it, let's keep talking, let's keep this moving forward. Now, for many of you, I'm sure coming up with different conversation topics doesn't feel all that natural. It can be difficult sometimes, it can be awkward, you may just run out of things to say. That's why I've put together my 20 icebreaker conversation starters. These are 20 different conversation topics you could bring up with your crush or with anyone you're talking to, friends, people in your class, anyone that you want to kind of get to know better. These conversation topics really dive deeper into learning more about that person, what they like, what they're interested in, what their hobbies are, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. And the third major texting mistake that a lot of people make is that they're a little bit too passive when it comes to making plans. Instead of actually being direct and setting a time and date to hang out, you leave things more open-ended. You say something more like this. Hey, you're a really fun person to talk to. We should definitely hang out sometimes. Hit me up whenever you're free. And in saying something like that, you're never gonna actually hang out with that person.
Why?
Well, because you never actually set anything up. All you did was talk about setting something up, and then you put it in their court. Hey, when you're free, let me know so that we can make plans. Nothing's ever gonna come of that. That's why when you're making plans with your crush, it's important to be as direct as possible. That way they know that you're actually setting something up. There's accountability there. If they choose to not do it, they know that they're actually letting you down. They know they're actually breaking plans rather than breaking this soft idea of maybe hanging out. Hey, you're a lot of fun to talk to. Tell you what, this Friday, you and me, let's grab something to eat after school. What's your favorite type of food? Using that as an example, you could tell that there's intent behind your words. You want to meet up on a specific day at a specific time and do a specific thing with them. That way they can give you an honest and actual answer instead of this kind of wishy-washy one of like, haha, yeah, we'll get together sometime. Direct plans will always trump open-ended invites. That's why it's so important for you to learn as much as you can about that person, because the more that you get to see where your personalities overlap, the easier it's going to be for you to make actual direct plans with them based on what the two of you want to do and what the two of you enjoy. I know these texting mistakes may seem simple in nature, but trust me, a lot of people make them, and that's why they end up kind of ruining the situation with the person that they're texting. They forget that the other person on the other side wants to feel like you're engaged, wants to feel like you care about them, wants to feel like the conversation is going somewhere. So if you can avoid making these mistakes, you will greatly increase your chances of actually having a deeper conversation with them. I'm curious though, what do you think? What are some of the major hurdles that you personally run into whenever you're trying to text someone? Does the conversation run dry? Do you run out of things to say? Do you just feel like you don't have an opening to actually start a conversation with them? Leave your answers down below and we'll talk about it. And if you still feel like texting really isn't your strong suite, definitely check out the video I have listed over there. That's going to break down how to deal with someone ghosting you and just not responding at all. How to get them more engaged in the conversation so it actually goes somewhere. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. I'm going to link them up over there. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and being a part of this amazing community. On that note, guys, I'll catch you next time. As always, love and peace.